probably about fourth. Today is our fourth or fifth CVC Thought Leadership event and startup for the year. Just looking at Eventbrite, just a little information nugget I didn't know, but Pitch Global has hosted just on Eventbrite alone 650 something events over the years. So that's really amazing. And kudos to the longevity of the group. My name is Sharon Sim, and I'm with SKC. We are the marketing agency with a soft spot for startups, and also have some success helping build startups. And very happy to be the co-host for today's Thought Leadership CVC event plus startup pitch. For those of you new to Pitch Global is already an expanded network of that had connected VCs and angels from funds to many thousands of entrepreneurs over the 10 years that it's been founded. And through the process had actually helped startups raise funding, had a lot of success stories. And is also funded by the US government to mentor startups to help, especially those with job creation potential. And so today, I'm very happy to introduce you to Casey Chaudhary, who is the founder of Pitch Global, and he will take it over as MC from here.
Great, thank you, Sharon. And I always want to enable people to see how we are all connected. It's not like we just met. We know Sharon for a long time. She sold her previous PR tech company to one of the top 10 PR firms in the nation. And she's PR advisor to government of Taiwan and also for entrepreneurship. And also she's helped companies, and one company particularly, which she'll talk about a little bit, where she helped get them find investors and even got them acquired by Baidu. And then Baidu became her customer. So you are dealing with a very elite network. And today, everybody here is going to co-create this ultimate learning experience. Both the speakers, the presenters, the judges, the last but not the least, the startups. Today's theme is leadership skills, which delight CVCs. So this theme, once our first interview is over, Andrew Mewa, with whom of TDK Ventures, will present on leadership skills which delight entrepreneurs, which delight CVCs. Now, without much ado, I am going to hand over the floor to one of my fellow entrepreneur in residence at Pitch Global, Jerry Baranano. Jerry started this government program and agency from funding from state of California and ran it. And then he retired during the pandemic and moved to the East Coast, Tennessee. And he's also helping us. And today he's going to interview an amazing person who is one of the silent movers and shakers of Silicon Valley ecosystem. People, his company, and he has been involved with billion-dollar funding. He doesn't want us to make too much details of it, and we cherish it. We won't get into the details, but if you Google, you will see, if you want to pick the top 5 mover and shaker in Silicon Valley, I would bet my money their company would be on it. So this company is SK Group. They of Korea. They are a few percentage of Korea's GDP, and and it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce my dear friend, philosopher, and guide, Hee-Suk Jung, who is now become the CVC head of SK Discovery, holding company of CVC Investments in the SK Group. So I hand over the floor to Jerry, who is going to introduce and interview him on investment thesis of SK Group. Jerry, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Casey. It's wonderful to be back. Hello to everybody. Good morning,
Hey, Jerry.
Good to see you again, at least by Zoom. So let's just start real quick with just give us a quick overview of your group and what you invest in, check size, what stage company, that kind of thing. And then we can get into a little bit about your decision-making process with respect to when to invest and how much.
Sure. Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me. And just a little bit about SK. SK is a company from Korea, like Casey introduced. We have about 150 operating companies within SK Group that has into many different industries and that are being managed by two holdings companies. And one is called SK Inc. and the other is called SK Discovery. And combining these two holdings companies and all the other operating companies, we contribute about 13 to 14% of national GDP. And we do have billions of annual revenues that come from all these different operating companies. And for SK Discoveries, I think we have also many number of operating companies within that are falling into basically three major industries. One is energy. So we deal with all the energy products, and we are trying to convert and transition from oil and gas company into an energy company, and making bets into electrification solutions and also into hydrogen economy. And the second industry that we are in is bioscience. And we have pharmaceutical and bioscience looking into cancer vaccines and other vaccine products, especially over the COVID-19 era. We were able to make a lot of profit from producing those COVID vaccines, but we are trying to return that favor back to the society, being preparing for the next pandemic, basically. And the third industry we are in is property tech. We have office buildings, we have residential buildings, apartments, and we basically develop the project from buying the land, building the apartments and buildings, and also maintaining and operating those buildings. And we are looking at the future techs going into property tech, which are being merged with construction tech, digital health, legal tech, fintech. Everything is getting merged into the property tech. It's becoming more and more interesting. And that is a reason why we started looking into building the new companies in SK, looking into the mega trend of internet, like metaverse, Web3, NFTs, and DAO, DeFi. We are starting to look into that, marrying with what we already have, so that we are not going to be behind the all these changes. And getting into the stage of the companies, we make bets into early stage companies from Series A all the way to pre-IPO companies, but we also make investments into public companies. And for early stage startups, we will bet between 1 million to 50 million, going all the way to pre-IPO stage companies. And for public companies, we do make larger checks, like billion-dollar checks to public companies. And we often follow, but we also lead, depending on the strategic alignment that the company has with our strategy. And if there's more that we can contribute to the startup, then we're likely to lead. And we don't really lead in the early stage companies because I want them to win it in their backyard first, be engaged with more US investors and be able to grab more of the US market. But when the company is ready to go to international market, that's when we can come in as a lead investor rather than being a lead from the beginning of their stage. The geographic preference, we make investments all over the world globally, from US to Europe. I've made an investment into Japanese company. And of course, in Korea, we are also being very active. We've been making a lot of direct investments, but we started looking into engaging with other financial investors like VCs, because the mega trend that I mentioned about like looking at metaverse and all that, we are not the experts. We'd rather want to get into some of the funds to get a little bit of help learning more about the new space. So geographic, yeah, we don't really bind ourselves into certain geographics, but we look into more of the international markets for investments and also doing business.
Great, that was a great summary. It sounds as if SK really has a very, very broad ability to move in a lot of different areas, small checks, large checks, all the way to public companies, which is really good. And geographically, you're you're pretty agnostic. So it's a very interesting approach, because it's very Catholic, low C Catholic. So it accepts, a lot of different things. Let's talk a little bit about sort of the decision-making process that you go through in terms of when to invest. It doesn't need to be any stage. You can talk about all the stages or a specific stage. Most of the people here are more early stage. But what is your decision-making? The relevance of technology for that, the importance of the management team, the importance of trust, that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure thing. That's a great question. When we look at the alignment of the company and interest level that we get, it starts from technology. And when we look into our plans, every year we update our plan, how we want to change it from oil and gas company into an energy company, and how we want to grab the whole value chain of the energy, or how to grab the whole market of property tech. And we know in which areas we need better or more technologies. And we are very specific about what we are looking for. And once we find the technology company that aligns with what we are looking for, then I think that really gets us going. And then we are going to start looking into the team members and how we can have a very bonding relationship with the management, and the level of commitment that we make, which is often comes in with the investment amount, kind of shows how much we are committed to the company. And that commitment is being shown to the company, but also to the customers that we are going to go to. That we've already put a lot of money into this company. We are working with them, and eventually this also shows to the government, because we want to take them to not only Korean government but also to the other countries, and showing that commitment and being bonded by this co-working relationship and partnership is really, really important. Okay. So to answer your question, everything starts with a technology. Yeah. Then, financial wise and all that, I think we can help them as we work together. Yeah. So as long as they're not in like really, really difficult situation or being sued by some other companies, I think we should be okay with, working with any other financial status company. More importantly, it's technology. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the technology, because I'm, a lot of times when there's technological innovation to solve a specific problem or, industry problem, there are different approaches. And so the question is, how do you determine that this is a tech you're going to back versus the other? So one of the tech companies that I was involved with, they sent over a Nobel Prize winner, to see if we were blowing smoke or not, to make sure that it was valid. What do you use to determine this technology is superior to that one? Sure. We have a huge R&D team looking into the technology all the time. And we also have our own assignment trying to develop a new technology that helps with the process that we have. Mm-hmm. So for example, we have chemical processes, we have petrochemical, we have aromatics or refineries, and all this process, we know where we need to develop or make improvements. And when it comes to different technologies, we know that not one solution will solve all the problems. Right. So we often make sure that we will make the right bets to different technologies. And just like how we invested into Monolith, which does a methane pyrolysis technology, providing a very good quality carbon black. On the other hand, we also put money into C0, which does the same methane pyrolysis, but focuses more on the hydrogen production rather than carbon black. So we do make bets into similar technologies as well, but providing a different value. And we want to test it, how it works better in the market, because some solution works better in Asian countries and some solution works better in European countries. And we have markets in both. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to technology, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to score 100. It doesn't have to score perfect. As long as it meets with maybe 60 or 70% of what we are looking for, we can develop together to get 100.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so you're willing to look at a technology solution or technology solutions together and say, we can work with both these technologies to solve a market problem. And that
Yes.
that comes from your operating units internal to the company, to SK.
Very much. I think we have strength in helping with startups for business development,
Right.
like using the solution, using the business model, and putting it into the right market. That's what we are good at. So as long as the technology is within boundaries, then we will try to match that solution with the right markets, and that's what we are good at, and that's what we are trying to kind of add more values to the companies.
Okay. And that is that the kind of thing where you would go, an SK representative would go together with a company to a third party, to a potential third party customer? Is that what you do, or is it more, here's the kind of things we see that these markets, or these companies in these markets, even more specific, need, and here's how you might want to talk about your technology, about your approach?
Very much. We will work with them. We will be right beside them when they go to new markets. And once we feel more comfortable them leaving those markets to us, then we will do the business development ourselves without even their help. So we will be, we'll be very dedicated and devoted to doing business development with a company that we engage with.
Right.
And that often shows with like how Casey mentioned about the large check commitment.
Right.
Like larger check that we write, of course, we have more commitments compared to $1 million or $2 million commitments.
Sure.
So after we show that investment, we will be really binding ourselves to their success and trying to get them to different markets as much as we can. But we want to start with Korea first, because one of the first questions that we get when we go to new customers in different countries is, have you done it yourself?
Yeah.
And we need to be able to say, yes, we've done it, it works.
Yeah.
And this is pros and this is cons. Like we don't always sugarcoat it with all the positive stuff. It doesn't work that way. We tell them this is what we found out, but we can work it to better at your facility. And that's how we approach to the new customers.
Okay, so this is great. So you're starting in Korea, because that makes sense, because that way you can answer the question, yes, we're using it here. But you're also almost like a channel for the startup. Once they get to a certain level, then you would do the BD, the business development for them, independent of the company. So that in a sense, what you're doing is opening up your sales force or your marketing force on behalf of the company.
Yes, yeah, we make a huge team. If a solution is starting to be more successful, for example, there's a fuel cell company that we put money into, and we even built a factory for them in Korea.
Wow.
And we are having them assemble their units, and now they're thinking about doing more in Korea and using Korea as the Asian hub. And things like that are being a very good driving factor for us to be engaged with those new companies. And we can really start making a very good revenue stream from that solution as well. So we are also winning. We are also gaining a lot of it from their solution, and we also want them to win.
Right.
And certain investments have to go in.
Right. So basically, but in order for that to happen, where you become a channel, you obviously have a negotiated agreement with a company in terms of pricing and margins and all that kind of thing. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And when until we get to that trust level, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes some time. And I think the first thing that we consider is transparency, meaning we show them our plan. We show them why we are interested in their solution. And we even invite them to Korea, and we show them where we want to put your plant, where we want to put your solution. And we actually have them meet with some of our customers and make sure that they are also excited about working with SK.
Right.
And once they are excited, and once we see the frequency of getting emails from their management or their voice and all the gestures that we get from them, we know that we kind of clicked.
Right.
And from there on, we will have some roadblocks getting into certain terms and conditions, putting it into the paper, but we are going towards the same direction. Okay.
And one of the things you and I talked about briefly in our previous discussion was the importance of being aligned with the management. And so my understanding is SK wants to understand what management wants so that you can commit to their desires as well. So you don't come in as, you know, the big company squashing the little company. You come in saying, what can we do to help?
Of course, of course. Like I said just now, often many startups, when they're ready to go to international market, they're having some difficulties of understanding their regulations and policies and who to work with as a partner. And that's where we come in. So the management alignment between what we are looking for and what they are looking for, matching those alignment is very important. And basically we need to be able to help them, and they need to be able to help us as well. So I think that's where it comes in as managing the expectation and aligning those needs for the future of both companies.
Yeah. Give us a sense of how long that process takes, where you have developed trust and you both are relatively certain that you understand what alignment looks like from both perspectives. What would be an expectation for the folks on the call and for other startups? How long does that process take? And I know there's a range, so that's
of course, yeah, it's different case by case, and every company, every case will be different. And there's always a honeymoon period, but you have to go across that honeymoon period and get into some troubles, get into some arguments. And I think that took us minimum 6 months all the way to a year. And then we can really see that bonding happening. And once we go through the full season, you know, their management have visited Korea, our management have visited US, and we've been working together as one team. And that one team spirit cascading down all the way to the operating teams takes time. So not just because the management are clicked, it doesn't mean operating teams are clicked.
right.
So we need to make sure that we go through enough chains of work to get to all the way to the working level. So it takes about a year, I should say.
Okay. And who leads that process from your end? Is that you that try to make sure that the operating units, the appropriate operating units, are brought in at the appropriate time?
In the beginning, yes, as the head of investment, we kick off the whole process, then we start talking about investment opportunities, because somehow we need to make the first bridge. But once the bridge is set, a lot of people cross that bridge, meaning between the business units and other operating teams start to click in. But we also set the very good milestones, such as let's set up the factory in Korea. Then who are the main people or champions setting up those factories in Korea? And those are guys that are going to be doing more communication than the management itself. So the overall process is usually the two tracks, making investments and also setting up the whole strategy together as from the management level, and the working level trying to realize all the plans that we've set up. So it usually work concurrently.
Yeah, and obviously, in order for this to all work, everybody has to have, and they may be different depending on the operating units or your perspective, but an endpoint that would be considered a success. There's obviously the financial endpoint, but the operating endpoint, the technology endpoint. And so I guess just discuss a little bit about the importance of that endpoint and how that might influence the size of the check.
Sure. We first look at, when we decide the size of the check, how much can we help them? How much can we add those values to the companies? And if there's a lot more than, if there's a lot of values that we can add to the company, then the size will get larger, because that's how much we want to show our commitment to the company. And that's how much we want the deal. And I guess the first thing is how much we can add the values. And number two, at the end, how much of a market share can we grab? Right now, there are two major companies competing each other in the market. And as we come in as a new player, how much of the market can we grab? And how confident are we compared to the existing competitors with this new solution? And once we gain that confidence, then we will also decide the size of the check as well. And once we start working together, the end point for both companies working with SK will be being number one in the market. But we want to have that gap between number 1 and 2 as large as possible. And we will start that in Korea, but start planting it into other countries as well. So that's always our strategy, being number 1 in the market in terms of market shares and the whole revenue size.
Okay, that's, yeah, I think it might have been Jack Welch who said be 1 or 2 in whatever market. It all depends how you define the market, of course,
Mhm.
right?
Of course, of course.
So that makes a difference. Okay, this has been really good. I mean, it sounds to me, just sort of as a wrap up, Casey, I'm keeping an eye on the clock, but it sounds to me as if, you know, SK is a fabulous company to go with if you're a startup, because you not only provide the cash at the appropriate time, but you're providing a whole lot more. You have a desire to be in sync with the management and to understand their needs. And then you can expand globally. It's not just in the US or in Korea, but it could be, you know, throughout the world where you folks have a presence.
Mhm.
So that's, I mean, it's, from my perspective, this is the ideal sort of
Yeah, I
venture.
mean, you know, maybe I said too much of the nice things of SK, but you know, we are a very strategic investors, and until we click together, it takes time, and you know, so we are not all that great compared to all the other great investors in Silicon Valley, but we are trying to get up there. We are trying to work our way up to be a better partner, better investor. And we really want to value or add more values to the company, not just from the financial point of view, but from the strategic point of view for business development. So we are trying to be that, but we still have a long way to go, of course. We all should be humble. Yeah.
Yeah. But it sounds as if your heart's in the right place. You're taking the right kind of a mentality when you approach a small company. It may take a lot of hurdles for them to get to be one of the lucky few that are funded by you and supported by you, but it's worth it. So
Yes, it is.
all right, Casey, it's I'm gonna pass the baton back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I'm gonna add something to what you just said, Jerry, that SK, it's just not about SK. If you befriend, if you're part of SK's ecosystem, no one will turn down their reference. My experience with E is we needed 1 or 2 more panelists for some conference we were co-hosting last year. And he said, just tell me who you want. And and he gave us 3 names, which were all 3 brand names, biggest in the field. And I said, no, just pick one, you know, and he got one of Europe's biggest energy company, which was very pertinent to us because they are icon investor, very famous investor in India. They have changed the way green tech works, you know, so any people, no one will turn down a reference from SK, you know, whether they invest or not. So that itself, you know, this is like platinum plated referral partner at the least, even if they are not investing. So
Thanks.
we could take one question. And Jim, do you have a question?
I don't know. I think I don't have a question. I've heard many great things about SK over many years. So it's a pleasure to hear you and to hear your approach. Look forward to, you know, hopefully partnering in some way. But I'll defer to somebody else for the question.
Great. Thanks,
That's
Jim.
great. And he has agreed to be on our board also. So we are going to, you know, in fact, I just heard one of my CVC friends said, large corporation from Asia Pac wants to start CVC fund here. And I told them this is, you know, Jim is also not only our board member, our VC in residence now, because he is, you know, co-chair of Caltech from Harvard. I mean, worked for the best VC funds and corporations. So we'll take your advice on this. You know, if we can, you know, make a bridgehead by saying, okay, we will put Jim as a VC in residence with this large corporation from Asia Pacific, you know, and you are guiding us, you know, maybe there can be a dialogue, you know, or maybe they can say, okay, let's not start CVC fund, let's go invest with SK also, like KKR did, right? I saw online that there was some big deal with KKR with SK Group. So on that note, I am very privileged and blessed to host this first discussion, which is like bringing the best of the best, biggest check writers in Silicon Valley. I've not heard of $5 billion plus deal, which is not an exit. Only SK Group has done that with Bloom Energy of San Jose. So we are very blessed to have the leaders of the field to come back to our event to pitch global again and again. So on that note, we are going to move on to the next phase of this program, which is the presentation on how leadership skills of entrepreneurs which delight CVCs. And we have run 7 or 8 thought leadership events on CVCs. We were trying to do that for a long time, but we had to pick the right person who really adds luster to the discussion, not weighs it down. And after a lot of quests, we clicked with the right person last year. He attended MIT and Wharton and was VC in China for a long time before he relocated to Silicon Valley and co-founded TDK Ventures and became their investment director. So we are really privileged to have our friend, philosopher, and guide, Andrew Mewas, back. The kind of CVC thought leadership he has provided, I don't think it can be matched. And we have recorded them, and they are becoming our curriculums. Some of it is like with San Jose State and all, we have started hosting other CEO thought leadership events. So Andrew, once again, very, very privileged to host you back. And floor is yours. But once Andrew ends, others on this call like Jim Simmons or He Jung, please give your comments on this topic as well.
Great,
Andrew.
thank you, Casey. Thanks everyone for joining. Today, I'll be presenting on some startup founder leadership skills that will delight CVCs as well as other investors. So here's the agenda. First, I'll talk a little bit about TDK Ventures. Then I'll dive right into the topic, directly talking about these founder leadership skills. And then after that, we'll have Q&A. So first, a little bit about TDK Ventures. We are a technology-focused venture fund based in Silicon Valley, Boston, and Tokyo. We focus on investments in global seed and early stage startups that unlock innovations in material science and engineering. And about our funds, we are actually managing 2 different funds, a total of $200 million, first launched in July of 2019, and the second launched in April of 2021. And our core values, really, it's about contributing to society in meaningful ways. Also, we're one team. We work together as one team, reaching for success. We deliver deep insights with our investments and our deep investigations, and we put entrepreneurs first. Really, the entrepreneurs are our heroes. They're really at the core of everything that we do. In terms of investment criteria, we invest looking for the global king of the hill, and we have 3 different areas that we look at. The first is venture-like financial returns. The second is strategic value with synergies, and the third is contributions to an attractive and sustainable future. A little bit about our team. We have a number of different team members. I'm not going to go over everyone, but we work together very well to ensure the success of our portfolio companies. And here's some of the investment areas for myself. I tend to focus more on industrial and mobility investments. About our portfolio companies, here are some. I'm not going to go through all of them, but really just a great group of diverse companies that are working very hard to develop innovative technologies and be successful in various markets. Here are some more of our portfolio companies. Here are others. And now I'll start off diving directly into the presentation for today. And it's what I want to talk about is leadership. But before I do that, I want to talk about management. And management, I think, is different from leadership. Startup management is mainly about using resources to maintain structures and follow processes. And you can see here, this is just a high-level plan of how a startup can manage their business. So defining a strategy, recruiting a team with different skills, then setting some goals, and helping out whenever the team runs into challenges, and finally monitoring the process and reassessing how to change things to improve the cycle. But this is just management. This is just setting different resources and processes into motion to achieve a goal. And I think that's very different and distinct from leadership. And so for the rest of the presentation, I'm going to dive into what I see as leadership and what I think are the important skills for startup founders in terms of leading their startup companies. Startup leadership is about inspiring people. It's inspiring their hearts to achieve a vision. And really that incorporates three different things. It's the people, it's the vision, and it's the culture. So why people? Well, founders need to care deeply about the company and the product, but most of all, the people. It's all about that relationship with the people that builds that trust, that builds that intimacy, that allows leaders to inspire the hearts of the team. Second, in terms of vision, leaders need to have a clear and compelling vision. As a leader, you really want to get your team, get investors, get your partners addicted to your why. That's the big question. That's the whole motivation behind what you're doing. And it's something that you do have to articulate often and very clearly. But when you do articulate that vision, that's what propels and motivates the team and the partners and the investors to really achieve something great and meaningful. And lastly, culture. It's about how the vision really comes down to the different processes, the different things that you would do, or better said, it's more about how the vision influences the things the entire team does that sets the tone for achieving the vision. And that's really what bridges the gap between the vision and motivating the people to achieve that vision and achieve success for the company. So data suggests that one of the major reasons why startups fail is because they don't have the right team. And it's not just about getting the right people in the team. It's about getting people in the right roles and allowing them to work together in a harmonious way. It's about reducing frictions. It's about opening communication. It's about making the team more collaborative so that everybody's working together harmoniously to ensure the success of the company. And this is, I think, where some startups get it wrong and why so many of those startups fail. Well, then how do you build the right team? As I said before, a lot of startups fail because they have problems with the team. And just hiring based on experience alone is not enough. It's about hiring for experience, but also getting team members to share their knowledge, work together for that common vision. And it's, as you're going about hiring for different roles, considering the business goals, considering the values, and getting the right balance of strengths and weaknesses of people who believe in the vision and are real team players, meaning they've demonstrated their willingness to work together with other team members to achieve the vision. And, really what we recognize is lots of startups, because they tend to be early on in their business, need members who are flexible and need members who can take on new projects as needed and are willing to do what it takes to achieve the vision in the long run. And it's more than just someone who's, hey, I'm only willing to do this one thing and that's the only thing I can do. It's about team members who are open to learning new skills, trying different things and contributing in different ways to the success of the team. And it's really also about trust. adding members to the team it's not just as simple as just hiring someone. It's about finding people you can trust and identifying them through your spheres of influence. So it could be through word of mouth, it could be through personal recommendations, could be old colleagues, friends, people from where you went to school, where you can find like-minded individuals who will match very well for the team. And lastly, I want to say, really you want to rely on people who are focused more on the vision and the mission rather than compensation to be motivated. If it's simply just about doing a job for money, in the long run, it'll be harder for the team to really come together and to work together for the success of the company. So what about vision? What role does vision play? Vision is the high-level driver for everything the startup does. If the team is not clear on the vision, if the team does not understand the vision, if they're not, really, they haven't received that vision, then it's going to be hard to really bring together and coalesce all the activities of that startup under that vision. And that's what you want. You want that vision to permeate all the things that you do so that the startup in the long run is moving in the right direction. How do you formulate a vision? Well, it starts first with what's your reason why? And I mentioned this earlier in the presentation, is that why that it's really the foundation of the firm, providing the alignment, the direction, the focus, the motivation, and the unity of the team. And it's that why that provides that also the emotional component for the team, why they're doing this. And you need to communicate that vision. It's not about a once-in-time thing, just when they're hired, hey, here's the vision, that's it. It's about continuously, simply and clearly communicating that to the team to make sure everybody in the team feels connected to the company and they can bridge that their individual tasks are meaningful to achieving the vision. And so everybody throughout the company, various high-level team members as well as so-called low-level team members can believe in that vision. According to a study by CB Insights, burnout and lack of passion are two major reasons why a number of startups failed. And a strong vision generates meaning and purpose for team members. So when the workloads increase, and they often do with startups, the challenges come, people aren't scared off and they run away. It's because they're behind that meaning and purpose that means that they'll stay on board for the long haul and supports both the leaders and the employees through that time, those times of uncertainty. Startup leaders understand that failure is inevitable. Trying a new project, it might fail. Launching a new product, it might fail. But, it's also about understanding that, this is part and parcel of delivering on the vision, that even if a project fails, it doesn't really affect that long-term vision. And startup founders can really frame those failures appropriately given the circumstances and overcome those failures in spite of them to continue along to achieve the vision. And lastly, the vision should be flexible and it can evolve over time. So as the startup matures, as the startup explores new market opportunities, new different types of products and new ways of delivering product and service to the market, the startup can reimagine that vision, but then still needs to re-communicate that and make sure everybody's on board with that vision for the long-term success of the company. And so how do you define mission and vision statement? I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I'll say it's really 4 things. Why you're doing what you're doing. 2 is what the organization is doing, being clear on that. And you'll be surprised some startups are not even clear on what they're doing. Who the organization does it for, who's your customer, who's your partner, and lastly, how the organization does what it does. Really high-level principles behind how the organization works to deliver value. So everybody talks about culture, and oftentimes people compare startup culture to corporate culture. And certainly there are high level some things that generally will hold true for a lot of startups as compared to corporates. Startups tend to have flat structure. Team members tend to have multiple hats. The work hours can vary, but people are flexible. And team members tend to, in some cases, focus on different types of creative work around what they're doing. And I think that's these are some of the things that attract team members to startups as opposed to working for corporates. But this isn't everything about corporate culture. In fact, building the right startup culture is complex, and it's many different layers. And I think it really starts with, again, that vision and mission, those core values, the why. By making that clear and by repeating it and making sure everybody understands it, that sets the tone for all the other things the startup will do for their company culture. Another point is, it's making sure your actions follow through on the values. It's not just enough to say, hey, here's what we value as a company. Here's what's important to us, but making sure those actions are consistent with what you say those values are. Also, being inclusive from the start, inclusive of all different types of team members across the organization, and eliminating ego. It's not about you. It's not about the individual as the founder or CEO. It's about the team. So get rid of ego and embrace harmony with the different team members. Another important thing to realize is startup founders need to give up on absolute control. Trying to control everything in the organization often doesn't work and is very laborious and time-consuming and tedious. In order to really go the long distance, I believe that startup leaders need to relinquish control and trust other members of the team that will long-term support the health and wellness of the business, the people, and the founders. The great startup leaders protect the team from distractions. Great leaders create focus and clarity on what really matters and not other things on the periphery that can really get things derailed. Great startup leaders minimize unnecessary micromanagement. And as I said before, it's not about trying to absolutely control everything. It's about really getting the big picture and making sure things are done according to the culture and achieve the values. Also, I believe that inviting constructive disagreement and friendly resolution is important. And when I say constructive disagreement, what I mean is having the right forums and the right decorum for expressing different views, because it's important. Not everybody needs to agree. And in fact, if everybody in the organization agrees, it's likely something that's not working, because finding a team where everybody agrees on everything just is not natural and could lead to dangerous situations in the future. But when you invite constructive disagreement, you also need friendly resolution. You need polite ways for the team to interact and resolve differing opinions to ultimately achieve goals in the organization. And lastly, you need to foster open, clear communication. Discuss expectations in advance and stick to agreements. This is important. This is what builds trust in the long run for teams. Here's one example of startup Dropbox, actually, when they were in startup phase, how they were really trying to communicate their values, communicate their culture. And it's about communicating it in different ways, in different forms, not just to your team, but also to your customers, your partners, so that everybody's clear on what's important to you. And then, as I said before, following through on those commitments. And lastly, I want to touch on 4 things that I think can help startup founders as they're striving to become better leaders. The first is listening more. Too often, startup founders think it's all about talking and communicating and saying things. And that's important, don't get me wrong. Again, communicating, especially vision and culture, are very important, but also listening. And listening is about asking open-ended questions, paying attention, maintaining eye contact, and understanding body language. And it's okay to have silence, because silence gives team members opportunities to process what you may be saying. Next point, aligning team member and startup goals. One of the things I see oftentimes is for startups, they're very clear on the startup goals, but it may not be so clear how a particular individual's role and their growth is tied to those goals. As a founder, a leader of a startup, you really want to work on how you can tie the business goals of the startup directly to development of individual team members. And if they can understand that more clearly, they're much more likely to go the extra mile. And I think, talking to and opening a dialogue with team members, understanding their personal goals, and somehow linking them and incorporating them into business initiatives can be very valuable. Creating feedback loops. It's really about two-way feedback. Have different regular team meetings, one-on-one meetings with team members, so that feedback is embedded in the culture instead of just happening randomly at different times. Questions like, how are you doing? How am I doing? And being clear and being open with these kinds of communications can be very valuable. And then lastly, building peer-to-peer networks within the team. Different types of affinity groups can deepen the sense of inclusion and relatedness that as startups grow can be lost. Different team members bring together different backgrounds and ideas. And so allowing them to meet together to share and to listen can also help by breaking down silos, broadening awareness and sensitivity, and avoiding finger pointing, where the team, as they're meeting together, they're understanding each other, they're working together, and they're communicating often. And so I think that brings me to the end of my presentation. I want to thank you all for joining, and like to open it up to questions.
That's great. Andrew, this was phenomenal. I can't see how this presentation can be better. This is like the pinnacle of glory. But I have a couple of questions because I've taken detailed notes, learned a lot. I love how you reiterate that vision, mission, core values, not just one time, but on an ongoing basis. That's very powerful, insight. I have two questions. One is, why didn't you expand how people can build peer-to-peer networks? Is it just technology, creating Slack channels for them, or what is the next level of detail? And can it also be done with suppliers, customers, vendors included? That's one. I want to say the second one too before I forget. And the second question is, you talk about giving up controlling ego and all. That is very difficult. However, do you think creating the right board may not be board of directors, but board of advisors, where you can bring in coaches and others, can keep you on the right direction? That's the nature of our mind. We just, and entrepreneurs need to have egos to really believe in the impossible. But then they also need to discard their egos. So that's become very difficult. Some people can do it, but it's very difficult. So can you, so peer-to-peer, and maybe advise some kind of board which can put you on the right direction and control ego? So I won't ask you anymore. You are the both, right? Power is yours.
Sure, absolutely. So I think with regard to startup founder ego, certainly, I think for a number of founders, they're visionaries. They have worked hard in industry, potentially for a number of years. And there potentially could be a sense of pride and of understanding that knowledge and that dominance in a particular field. And it happens. What I would say is, I think you're on the right track when you say board of advisors. It's really being able to surround yourself with different people that can give you different perspectives on things and help you as a startup founder to relinquish that ego. It's in having people who you trust, who you admire, who can tell you the hard and difficult advice or suggestions that maybe your ego is getting in the way, but can do so in the right forum. What do I mean? What I mean is, certainly you want boards of advisors, but you also want trusted advisors that you meet with one-on-one, who can tell you the bad news one-on-one. So you're not, your ego's not bruised, but can allow you to learn how to manage that ego in a way so that when you go back to your team, you're doing things a lot better. And so really that starts with bringing on board people who know you, who trust you, who you're willing to listen to, but are also willing to tell you the bad news, or at least tell you things that may seem harsh at the time, but are necessary for molding and shaping you to being the leader for the next level. So that's one thing. The second is when I talk about peer-to-peer networks, really it's allowing for team members and also even potentially members outside of the team with partners or even vendors to connect in different ways in open forums where they can talk and they can share. And it's more than just setting up a Slack channel. That's more the mechanics of it, but it's more about how you as a leader foster and sort of motivate people to do that willingly. So part of that is allowing team members to express who they are. So for example, if the team has folks who are, who like different types of activities, for example, hiking or other types of activities, that could be an avenue for different types of peer-to-peer networks. It's really about the interests of the group and giving them the space and the freedom to put those different types of groups together as they see fit. And but then you layer on, okay, here are some of the conduits where you can communicate. So part of it could be a Slack channel, could also be different forums for teams to meet or peer-to-peer networks to meet. All of that is good. And you as a startup founder want to initiate that, you want to encourage that, you want people to feel free to do that, but you also want them to do it a little bit on their own, and then you get out of the way. You don't want to be there hand-holding everybody for those peer-to-peer networks. Does that answer your questions?
That's very powerful, Andrew. And now we got the idea for our next event. We should do one on how to form boards, formal and informal. Because what you said is so right on, that sometimes you got to give them one-on-one advice, which especially bad news, but the board does a collective advice, and that could go against what is needed. So that also getting to the next level of detail, that's also very powerful, Andrew. So let's offline think about how to form your right board, personal, and that's fantastic. So thank you, Andrew. Now we are gonna go into the next phase of this program. We'll have two more investor intro. One is this gentleman is only person who's both our board member as well as our entrepreneur in residence, and he is co-chair of Caltech Angels. He's also VC with Simmons Goodspeed. He worked with Draper Richards and Tim Draper's father in the early days when they invested in Skype and all. And person has been a great mentor to Pitch Global ecosystem for 6 years. So Jim, floor is yours. Briefly, you can introduce yourself as well.
Thank you, KC. KC gets great people together like he, and he just create something about it. He oversells a little bit, but it's so pleasant. Anyway, it's great to be here. Our VC firm, Deep Tech hardware, often physics and chemistry based. We believe one of our portfolio companies, we believe, is the first breakthrough viable water treatment technology since reverse osmosis in the 1960s. Anyway, we like entrepreneurs. It was an honor to work for Bill Draper, a wonderful, wonderful guy. And we like entrepreneurs, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you, Jim. And here, last but not the least, is my fellow founding EIR in Pitch Global, who is former US CEO of Fund of Funds and former Master Challenge board member. He often is my co-host. Today he's not, but he will briefly tell everybody about our CVC Government and Impact conference backed by State of California on the last evening and next day of TechCrunch, where some of the people here, like he, like Andrew, like Jim, they are all gonna be speakers or panelists. So Axel, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Casey. It's a pleasure to be here today as well. And yes, I am impacted. I'm impacted by the wonderful thing that you and me have put together coming for this event, which is at the last day of TechCrunch and the following day. This is a conference which brings basically together the CVCs, the entrepreneurship, and the impact thinking. We will also discuss diversity and inclusion on our first evening, and because this is a societal importance today that entrepreneurs consider the subject matters as well. It's not just about the ideas, but you need to also have a society within your organization. I encourage everybody to come. We definitely will have a lot of fun, and there will be tons of information because I see and I have seen the agenda, and anybody who wants to read more about it, it's at pitchglobal.com/CVC. And of course, anybody who wants to listen and he knows sponsors, of course, we need to have sponsors to even present more value. Thank you so much. Enjoy the day, and thank you, Casey.
Thank you, Axel. Also, one more thing, Axel is on Pitch Global's behalf, advising State of California for their Diversity and Inclusion Fund. And in our ecosystem, we have seen that CVCs also want to participate in things like this. Just to give an example, we are all US government State of CA funded high-level mentors. And one of the mentors is leading grant advisor, who is now part of the funding of California Community College, huge network where Citigroup, CVC invested a lot. So these are kind of things we want to foster. You know, sooner or later, I'm very confident having people like leaders like Jerry on our team, we will be able to, not just in California and in other areas as well. So on that note, I am going to ask our make sponsor intro. We actually today have SKC PR is a sponsor, Trinet is sponsor, and two of the companies who are presenting are sponsors. So what we are going to do is hand over the floor to Sharon, who's going to briefly tell you about how she helped one startup raise funding and acquisition by Baidu. And she's also advisor to Government of Taiwan startup initiatives. Sharon.
Thank you, Casey. So very honored to be part of Pitch Global for several years now. And usually when we co-host the events, we also try to add a little value and provide some tips or some success stories from the past where hopefully can help everyone attending and you take tidbits of information and knowledge from us from our decades of working in marketing and PR and apply it to your own careers. So today, actually, Casey, we're not directly talking about that. We're actually talking about the 4 ways to become a media darling. And I have on my team, Morgan and Tristy also helping us out. So today, Morgan and me will be doing a very short soundbite thing, which should take a couple of minutes, and then I'll pass it back to Casey. So I'm just gonna do a screen share real quick. Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Okay, so there are 4 tips. You've probably seen as a company, as a startup entrepreneur, you've seen that some press coverage had actually helped catapult companies to a new level of success. And a lot of people want to get more coverage for the companies, but how do you do it? One of the tips that we would like to share is begin with the end in mind. You probably have heard of Stephen Covey. You probably read his famous book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's the same thing for becoming a media thought leader. What would you like to be known as? When you think Richard Branson, when you think Sheryl Sandberg, when you think Warren Buffett, they're all known for something. Like with Sheryl Sandberg, beyond her Facebook story, she also is an advocate and a champion for women leaning in. So thinking for yourself as you build your companies, as you build your own profiles, what is it that you want to be known for, and then work towards that. So that's tip number 1. Morgan?
Number 2 is get out and speak. So you all are the experts in your industries and on your businesses and how you want to move forward. And so it's good to share that information. So speaking at events that matter in your industry is one of the best ways to get your name into the public eye and in front of journalists. So, do your research, invest some time to track down and find where all the bigwigs in your industry gather, and go there and just share your wonderful knowledge. And then number 2 is you start to get your face out there. You've got your end goals in mind, and now you want to provide informational interviews. And this isn't just interviews. This is about becoming a resource for journalists. Like I said, you guys are the experts, and these journalists love to tap into that knowledge. So find relevant reporters and check out their industries and walk them through your industry, the trends, directions, and how your company contributes to making these things happen. So position yourself as a reliable resource, and that'll get you that 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and so on interviews down the line, and cement yourself as a go-to contact for valuable beat writers.
Thank you, Morgan. And then the 4th thing to consider too is building media relationships. It's not just about getting that one interview to get you that story, but it's over time. So when you know the reporter has a certain beat, say Wi-Fi technology, and you know people in that community, so it will behoove you. It will be very helpful for the reporter to know more people who are knowledgeable in that beat. And if you become the broker of relationships to make introductions to the reporter to help him do his job better, he will be grateful to you forever. And this translates beyond media relationships. This translates to networking with one another. The best way to get help in the future is to help someone else now. I think Casey does a lot of that. We all learn from you. So yeah, there you have it. 4 ways to becoming a media darling. We hope this helps.
That's great.
Just real quick, Morgan.
As Sharon said, we love to share value with everyone on these wonderful Pitch Global events. So we wanted to make you a little offer. So mention your Pitch Global affiliation, and you can receive a half-hour complimentary PR consultation from the experts at SKC. And you can get our VIP discount for wire distribution of press releases. So
Okay.
Feel free to contact Sharon.
Yeah, you can link in me, Sharon Weissam, or you can email me. Thank you. Casey, back to you.
Thank you. And our press release for our event in CES, backed by Government of Hungary, as a startup ecosystem, was very well received. So thank you for those coverages. And now we are going to, before we introduce TriNet, is Megan there? She's not there. Anyway, so we'll briefly talk about TriNet, but we'll also do a roll call. Today, in our monthly investor event co-hosted by UC Berkeley for 4 years, their selection criterion is different. Here in this event, we want to bring the right mix who also adds luster to the topic, because this is real high-level CVC leadership education experience unrivaled by anywhere else. And so kind of people we have invited to take part here, we want them also to briefly share and bring out dimensions in leadership. I'm going to do a roll call now and also briefly explain the background and how all these companies, 6 companies, feed into the big picture. So the first company, who's also a sponsor, is TerraBio, and Dr. David Mead, who sold his previous company for over 70 million, is going to talk also a bit about leadership. So David, we'd love your comments on the presentation, and also briefly share your experiences when you were leaders in previous companies like Biorad and all, where you created drugs worth billions today. Second company, also sponsor, we love them. They have they are based in Silicon Valley and in the UK, and person is himself very investor in well-connected firm. Company is Profecta, and person is Vasily Nikolov. Third company, we know these 2 people, and third company is new, and they are gonna present from Tokyo. They are in medtech, and today we have TDK Ventures, SK Group of Korea. So why not have company from their ecosystem and see how that can be also adds to the disruption. The fourth company, another very seasoned entrepreneurs we know, Dr. Alec Golu of Levensight. He also serial entrepreneur, sold his company. I met him when he was doing due diligence for Kiritsu Forum, where he's an investor, and someone who really branded himself as an investor, so that when he approaches companies for funding, they do not, their resistance are lower because he has really proved himself as an investor as well, which we always say to tell serial entrepreneurs, get into the investor club so that they don't judge you that much upfront. And last company, one is someone we've never met. So we love when we give opportunities for 1 or 2 companies to sign up just random. And that often creates the butterfly effect, because a lot of groups are very judgmental. They will make people fill endless applications. We don't, because at Pitch Global, most people we invite are invite only, because we share leads. Our collaborative approach is our secret sauce. We share leads from the best of the best in Silicon Valley, and people who present in some of these other events, we invite them. But the 1 or 2 people we always give a chance without any judgment, often takes the experience to the next level. So the last company is Cure, and person presenting is Karen Nasbierer. I hope I got it correct. So that's the order. So TriNet is not there, but briefly, TriNet is world's leader in PEO space. They can, with their partnership with First Republic Bank, they can help a startup level the playing field with larger companies, especially overcome the biggest impediment of hiring senior people, which is insurance cost. So very blessed to have their support. So now I'm going to introduce Dr. David Mead, who will speak a couple of minutes as a sponsor as well. And we want your expertise. So before you get into the presentation, please tell us your perspective about your previous exit and working for large corporations in the past. David.
Thank you, Casey. Yeah, the presentation by Andrew was fantastic and a really nice refresher on what it takes to be a good leader and a successful entrepreneur. And I actually copied the whole thing down, and I'll be studying it quite a lot here over the next week or so, just to get a refresher on that. And he couldn't be more right. You have to lead a team of people with disparate personalities and agendas, and still get them all to be on the same page. And it's not trivial, but if you build the right culture, it is possible. And I've experienced that in good ways and in bad ways. It seems like it's a little easier to do in a smaller organization, a startup, than it is in a big organization. I know it is, but nevertheless, really great ideals to live up to. I was fortunate to have a wonderful exit with my previous company, Lucigen, and had built up a molecular biology company from scratch out of my own basement. I was the only 2 centrifuge family on the block there for a while in my basement, and had a very nice successful exit, and used those some of those proceeds to start this company, Terra Bioworks. And there weren't any really good tools around at the time when we started this. There's many more now than 5 years ago, but we have definitely pioneered some much faster, more precise ways of converting complicated DNAs into natural products that are worth billions of dollars.
That's great. Great, David. Now we are all excited to see your updated presentation. So go ahead.
Sure. So I'm David Mead, the CEO and co-founder of Terra Bioworks. And we pioneered a next generation platform that is 100 times faster and more precise than old school methods for natural products. And I'm talking about therapeutic drugs, not herbal remedies. We reprogram microbes to overproduce bioactive natural products. And these compounds are $1 trillion worldwide business market for things like therapeutic drugs, supplements, cosmetics, animal health, and agriculture. Here's one of the problems. The old school methods can take years, if not decades, to take a starting compound through the FDA and then to scale it up and manufacture it in quantity. Literally, it took 30 years to improve the production of penicillin to produce large amounts of compound. We, with our new tools, our synthetic biology tools, we can shorten this time to months and a few years instead of decades, saving millions in R&D costs and billions in production costs. So here's a case study where Professor Neil Kelleher at Northwestern University had spent 2 years trying to correlate this compound called Stravadin with its DNA pathway. And with us on board, we collaborated and were able to pull it off in 2 months, which is a world-class speed record. And he was so impressed, Dr. Kelleher has joined our board. Our users include large global companies and some of the most prestigious universities in the world. And we started the company as a CRO. There's not nearly as much value in that as developing our own assets. So we're pivoting to manufacturing and IP protecting some very valuable compounds, which will provide a huge return on return for investors. So genome mining, editing, and expression tools are a major differentiator for Terra Bioworks. Our DNA trap technology shown here can be used to isolate much larger pathways than competitors. And over here, you can see each one of these dots represents over 130 times we've done this for our existing customers. And yes, there's competition, but they only are able to operate in this much smaller size space here. And that's why it can take them years to achieve their goals. Yes, we have competitors, and this just shows a few of them up there. Zymergen just got bought up by Ginkgo just the other day. What's unique about us is we can produce natural products in 4 different microbial systems, and we are only one of 2 firms worldwide with this new generation of rapid synthetic biology tools. So this gives us a really good chance of making a drug from nearly any starting microbe. We have 2 issued patents with 2 in the queue. And the most valuable IP, these are great foundational starting points, but the most valuable IP will come from these new compounds that we're overproducing. So this is a glimpse into our product pipeline. We're pursuing substantial market opportunities, and we got detailed technical plans for producing and patenting them. For example, the cost of goods savings for cyclosporin manufacturing using our technology are estimated at $1 billion each, which is pure profit for the manufacturer. And these dollar savings can be licensed for 10% of those $1 billion savings, or about 100 million each. And this is just for one of these. The business model is to license or sell overproducing strains making these compounds. And again, we're the only synthetic biology company addressing near-term drug production problems, which is a much faster and more affordable timeline to revenues than chasing drug discovery. Having said that, we are chasing some new compounds in a drug discovery modality through SBIR grants. So that's not what we're looking to raise funds for. We are seeking 3 million in new investments, and customers are existing pharma, biotechs, and agritechs with problems producing affordable or new compounds. Our valuation will increase dramatically if even one of these is licensed, and we envision an acquisition exit in 3 to 5 years for 9 figures. There are multiple revenue channels for growing the business. Obviously, I mentioned licensing the compounds developed here to pharma and agritech. We can also sell these compounds to the research chemical market, not as big of a market, but still will get us to break even very readily and find new customers with our innovative platform. So the proceeds are going to be used to obtain IP protection for manufacturing 3 compounds and onboard some more staff and a full-time BD person. And that will position us for significant partnerships or acquisitions. And obviously then the funding will be used to develop products, accelerate sales and marketing, and cover business expenses. And I'd like to point out, here's 3 firms that have had recent significant financial events happen to them. And all 3 of these were previous customers of Terra Bioworks. Our team has led corporations through large strategic transactions, and we are leaders in natural products. I wanted to remind you again, I started and sold my previous company, Lucigen, for $70 million 4 years ago. I also invented a technology called TA cloning that generated over almost $1 billion for Thermo Fisher over the last 20 years. So I'm applying my previous background just to much bigger, harder problems in this country. Our board and advisory board have really broad skill sets and world-class expertise in their respective fields. Neil is a world-class metabolomics expert in natural products. Nancy Keller is the godmother of natural products fungal genetics. And we have some pharma folks who are very skilled at manufacturing and other business aspects. And then Mark Lyles is another co-founder who has got some serious ag tech application capabilities. So in summary, our platform addresses major pain points in the industry, such as producing enough compound, generating new starting points, and most importantly, much faster time to results. We've created traction as a service business and have substantially de-risked our platform many times over. We have an experienced team that has started a biotech from scratch and exited with substantial liquidity. And we are the fastest and broadest platform for producing natural products across multiple market segments. And we're poised to become a money-generating engine. Thank you for listening.
David, quick question. Can you briefly talk about your relevance to the global markets? We've had companies which has raised grants from Australia, government of Japan and all, like Maxwell Bio. So something you should also be, what could you do to get in front of governments in Korea or Japan or all these places?
I think the value proposition is that we can help them overproduce natural products that come from microbes in a much faster green manufacturing modality than making these complicated compounds chemically, which is expensive, uses a lot of toxic reagents, and is very expensive. So that's the short answer. There's other variations that I can.
That's great. And this is where the market is moving, going away from too much chemicals, we are seeing lighting companies, people using lighting technology to cure Alzheimer's and all that. So that's very powerful. Thank you. David.
Can I mention one other thing? This is the same thing as the RNA technology for vaccines. It's the same end result, but using these new tools to get there much faster.
That's great. That's really great to know. And your CRO part 2 generates revenues, which also adds. They all add up in a slowing economy where revenue becomes more paramount. So thank you once again. Much respect for presenting. Our next company is, they have rebranded themselves like you did. Next founder is founder of Profecta, and person presenting Vasily Nikolov. But Vasily is also investor. And tell us a bit before you present, Vasily. Tell us a bit about your story, how you became an investor.
Well, it's a very long story. Thanks a lot for your time. Originally, I used to be an investment banker. Spent many years in investment banking, management consultant in various European countries. So when I moved to Silicon Valley as a CEO of a startup company in nanotechnology, I joined a couple of funds here. During the last 3 years, I'm also venture partner in Network VC, where my partners are in Ukraine. Used to be in Ukraine until recently. Now they moved across the world. So yeah, I had always been between the tech sector, in new technologies, investors and startups. So depending on the situation, I was either on the investment side or moving a startup, understanding how investors think. And I believe this is my strength. So I combine all three knowledges.
Absolutely. And sometimes when you just pitch here and there, all this don't come out. So we wanted to shine the light on that first, because investing is about faith. And if you already are such an investor, which we know, because I know network.vc, I have been a judge before there in the in-person event, both in LA and San Francisco. So that's great. Lovely to hear that. And now the floor is yours. Please share the screen and start presenting.
Okay, well, Kostov, thank you very much for this. So yeah, then quickly about myself. So I've been living here in Silicon Valley for the last 9 years. My original education is in physics from one of the best universities in Europe. I also have an MBA from another European university. And throughout my career, I was investment banker, management consultant in McKinsey & Company, VC, and managed several startup companies. So the previous company, we sold to a strategic buyer, making a very good return to our investors. And this is my new venture. So we recently rebranded and we recently restructured. So the presentation that you will see today is brand new. You are the first ones to hear it. So I will appreciate any feedback. So here's my screen. Okay, do you see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So Perfecta. The mission of our company is to bring the next level of business process optimization using AI. And the problem with that we're solving is that there are just too much data around, and human capabilities already cannot manage them. So what we discovered is that and as a result, what we see is digital transformation in many cases just completely failed. There's so much data, but humans are incapable of managing it. Only 27% of enterprise data I ever looked at, only 14% of data are used to make business decisions. 75% almost employees say that they're overwhelmed with working with data, and companies spend hundreds of billions of dollars on solving this issue, and still this problem is there. So our solution is the next level of business optimization using intelligent agents, AI intelligence agents. So our system analyzes in big corporations 100% of business data. It does it in real time and identifies present and future business risks and opportunities. So we put AI assistants to everybody, starting from CEOs, middle management, and every employee. And such AI assistants help managers do their work better, employees do their work better, and they actually eliminate a lot of burden by automating and predicting many of the tasks that otherwise are done manually even today. Just to give an example. One of our products, our first product, was tested on a Fortune 500 oil and gas company. So they have a fleet of 1,500 vehicles. After our system we installed, we identified an almost 50% cost saving on fuel. We identified about 30% reduction in CO2 emissions, and an opportunity to lower the traffic accidents by about 20%. And ROI on this investment for our client was 10x. So how we do it? During installation, we make a digital twin of the company, of business process in the company. This is done semi-automatically using our proprietary artificial intelligence. And this digital twin is some kind of a mathematical model of a company and all business processes of the company. And once you have this mathematical model of a company, pretty much like what engineers do with mechanical objects, the same we can do with an organization. So we can simulate different scenarios and we can do it instantly. Once this mathematical model is there, you can instantly see what's going on at the company. You can evaluate if something is going right or wrong. You can fine-tune messages so the system alerts the right pieces of your organization about things which are going right or wrong, and it can take actions automatically. So this is some kind of a revolution in management of companies, pretty much like Newton's laws for designing and engineering. So the same we bring to company management. In terms of market size, the market is huge. It's in the hundreds of billions of dollars. That's how much currently companies spend on various business intelligence solutions. In terms of competition, the major BI players like Tableau, Domo, Sisense, Click are formerly our competitors, but we rather see them not as competitors, but rather channels for us, because we are doing a product which is complementary to them, to what they are doing. We're currently in various stages of discussions with all these leading companies, predominantly with their truck management solutions divisions. All of them demonstrated strong interest in our product. So now we're in the phase of discussing and hopefully signing several pilot projects in the next few months. In terms of the team, I spoke a little bit about myself. Our CTO used to live here in Silicon Valley for about 30 years. He has one of the best backgrounds, educations in mathematics, still from the Soviet Union. And here he was managing large teams of hundreds of software engineers. So he's one of the best minds, both mathematically and in terms of implementation as well. And Vladimir is helping us with, he's a entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. So he's helping us with fine-tuning the product and bringing it to the marketplace. So where we are today, we raised $2 million in funding that brought us to the first version of our product. It allows us to make a successful pilot with a Fortune 500 client. And it brought us to the great attraction with their prospects. So we're planning to raise another $3 to $5 million late seed round in the end of this year. Basically to expand sales. We want to achieve sales of at least $1 million by the end of next year. And this should bring us to Series A, which we plan to do either in the beginning or in the end of next year or beginning of 2024. So this is very quickly about us. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, great to see the presentation. Great to hear about. I didn't know you were in McKinsey alum. If I were, I would. That's the first thing I would say, and that's very impressive. But we are there. You know, entrepreneurs have substance, and we will bring sizzle into their life and bring it up so that we can showcase your uniqueness. So Jim may have a question. I have a question first, sure. Which is, let's get into the details of your sales cycle. What is your business model? What is your revenue model? What is the sales cycle? What is the typical time it takes to get a customer? You know, can you get into the details of your revenue cycle?
Absolutely. Yeah, I had another slide on this. I just avoided
Let's
it.
see it. Let's see it.
So revenue model, okay, here it is, but I'll walk you through it. So in the beginning, we will of course do direct sales. So it's a traditional B2B SaaS model where we install a system pretty much like ERP solutions do or SAP solutions do. And we will charge on par with our competitors, which typically charge $20 per user per month. So for mid-sized corporations, that would be in the range of hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. For large companies like McDonald's, that could be millions of dollars per year. So the sales cycle, it's a typical B2B sale. So for mid-sized corporations, that's in the range of 3 to 6 months. For very large ones, that's 6 to 12 months. While installation is very simple and easy, that takes a few days, maximum 2 weeks. So we come up, our system implements, okay, I will drop it now.
Okay.
Our system replicates, makes this digital twin on the basis of past data, asks questions, and then the system is up and running. So if you compare it to SAP solution and any ERP solution that typically takes you months or years to install, ours is done semi-automatic and in a matter of days, maybe weeks.
Okay. What I'll make a quick comment. Let's talk offline. Even today, you know, you are getting traction in trucking. Maybe have a vertical for trucking. You know, say you can weave in your McKinsey ability. You can say, I can give you high-level consulting. We've had 2 trucking companies in our network. They have invested in one another, Cargo Chief and Telemetra, and I can get you some help from them as well.
I would
and
appreciate it.
actually invest in one of them, Telemetra. Jim, do you have any comment?
Sure. Yeah, I had a question following on your question, Casey. I'm just wondering if what the limits are of your technology due to the training set size. We know of a professor of computational biology who says that the elephant in the room for AI is the size of the training set. And there's one problem we're working on where the training set is like 1 million times too big for AI. So I'm just wondering, and then the other question, we probably won't get to all of this, but how much capital ultimately would be needed? And, you know, vertical might be a way to address that and find economies of scale in training set.
Okay, so answering the first question, we are using completely different artificial intelligence. It's a different breed of artificial intelligence, so-called symbolic AI versus sub-symbolic that is used by everybody else. So sub-symbolic AI, which is used by pretty much everybody, machine learning, neural networks, and so on, these are basically statistical models. Which solve the problem of interpolation and extrapolation by adjusting the parameters automatically. But there is hardly any intelligence there, there's just statistical models. We are doing a symbolic AI, which does have certain intelligence inside, because we put inside such things as knowledge, certain logic of a data process, and so on. To be sure, there's pretty much no limit in terms of scalability, and moreover, scalability in our case is logarithmic, so, and it's not even linear. So we can always increase it to any scale needed, and we don't need to, let's say if you have 10 times more data, we need to add another server, and not 10 times the size of the server.
Okay, we have run out of time.
Sure.
But Vasily, let's talk after this, maybe around 1, if you're free, you know, and process all this. And I will guide you on, let's talk more about verticals and all. You know, so all right, so our next company is presenting all the way from Tokyo, and because we have, you know, TDK and SK group here, we thought, okay, let's have a company present from Asia, and that also adds to our collective learning today. So this company is called Red Arrow, and person presenting is Dr. Takua Miyazaki.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction. Let me share my screen. Can you see this?
Yes.
should I swap this place or
Yeah, go
and
ahead.
see?
It's perfect.
Okay, sure. So thank you very much for kind introduction. I'm Takuya Miyazaki, CEO Red Arrow Therapeutics from Tokyo, Japan. So we are developing the future anti-tumor cytokines, namely intermycin molecules. We encapsulate the cytokines as API in the core of this molecule, and we protect it with the outer layer of the polymer segments. And also we can inactivate the cytokines in healthy tissues, while we can activate the cytokines in acidic tumors with the inner polymer segments. So with our intermycin platform technology, we would like to solve the problem of immune checkpoint inhibitors. Actually, to which from 60 to 90% of patients do not respond due to the presence of the cold tumors with no cancer fighters like T cells, NK cells, and dendritic cells. Actually, these immune checkpoint inhibitors show some efficacy against hot tumors with the cancer fighters. So the conversion of immunologically suppressed cold tumors into inflamed hot tumors is necessary. So to this end, the cytokines are promising because they can convert the cold tumors into immunogenic hot tumors. However, systemically injected cytokines spread everywhere, including healthy tissues before tumor accumulation, resulting in limited anti-tumor activity as well as severe tox against healthy organs, including healthy liver and blood cells. So the challenge is to extend the half-life of cytokines and reduce the toxicity against healthy tissues. To solve the problem in pharmacokinetics and toxicology of cytokines, we are developing intermycin product platform. Our intermycin molecules can reduce the tox against healthy tissues by inactivating the cytokines while enhancing the efficacy against tumors by extending a half-life and activating the cytokines, resulting in conversion of cold tumors into the hot tumors as naive cytokines in the tumor microenvironment. So with our molecule, we are aiming to develop the safe cytokine systems for systemic intravenous administration, while our competitors are aiming for local intratumoral injections with their relatively toxic products. The only intravenous fusion cytokines improving the pharmacokinetics and toxicology of cytokines, but unfortunately, they are still compromising on intratumoral cytokine activation, while we can do intratumoral cytokine activation with our careful polymer chemistry. With our competitive technology, we are going to develop in-house pipelines for partnering after validation, and also develop joint pipelines with partners for licensing after proof of concept. Then we would like to be public in 2027 or look for the M&A opportunities. For partnering after IND or even phase 2A clinical studies, we are developing in-house RA001. Actually, this is interleukin-12 intermycin systems, and RA002, the second pipeline while we will develop the RA003 with our potential partners. So here is a summary of our first pipeline. We are loading interleukin-12, cytotoxic interleukin-12, which can activate 3 cancer fighters in tumors, and engineering polymers to control the pharmacokinetics and toxicology of interleukin-12. We have observed in vitro, in vivo performances, including effective anti-tumor activity against anti-PD-1 operable resistant tumors. So we are aiming to treat immunotherapy resistant solid tumors with our monotherapy or even combination therapy with anti-PD-1 operable. For clinical trials in 2026, we will finish the CMC preclinical studies and IND filing. So to complete the upcoming milestones, including the pipeline development, patent filing, and the team expansion, we would like to raise 1.5 million US dollar in the upcoming the round. Now we are building a strong management and R&D teams, as well as a strong scientific medical advisory boards. We are experienced teams in polymer chemistry, nanomedicine, preclinical, clinical developments, and business developments. So thank you very much for your kind attention today.
Great. For first pitch, it's very good, and we'll give you some private feedback. I'll email you, but can you tell us more about the kind of partnership you have been working on till now? Have you built any partnership or close to that?
Yes, actually, now we are negotiating with the pharmaceuticals, actually big pharmaceuticals, and hopefully we can make a contract in early 2023 Q1.
Okay, I mean, that is really very important. Like saying that, then the team put in more upfront. People are looking for these are more like tangibles, because I know when people are presenting, they are very knowledgeable, but sometimes if you talk too much about the problem, then it becomes very theoretical presentation, and investors may think it's a very it's just a napkin stage. You have just come up with this idea. When you have concrete, when you have team, when you have so put that also, like when you are presenting next Friday, just put all those up. We have very strong team. We have already raised 750K, and we are in close talks with global pharmas. When you say all this upfront, people are like, wow, this is I'll email all these 3 points to you too. But do we have any other question here? We don't, but we are, otherwise that will set the frame. So when you're presenting in US, these are things which will catch the investor attention upfront, because people judge very quickly. They may slot you saying, no, this is too theoretical, which you're not. You already made progress. So put the meat in front. And yeah, we'll be in touch. I'll email you. And are you okay? What is your ideal partnership? Who are the people you want to companies you want to target?
I think the any pharmaceuticals okay for now, but especially our fast pipeline, interleukin-12, the drug, our competitors making a deal with mega pharma like AstraZeneca, BMS, and Merck, MSC. So for the partnership with our fast pipeline, we need to carefully choose the one of them to make a big deal. But about the second pipeline and so on, I think all the pharmaceuticals is okay.
Okay, great to hear. So thank you once again, and
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you very much for
Big
kind
Global. We will
feedback.
push you. We will empower you. You see Japanese, Korean companies present here as CVCs, so you are in the right ecosystem. And we are very interested in Japan because there are so many good corporate venture capital from there. So you are tied in with the right people. So thank you. And
Thank you very
now,
much.
screen, we have two more companies. The next company, I'm very, this person started his previous company with large CVC investment. So how about that? And then they exited it, and he was investor with Kiritsu Forum, did due diligence. And I love one of his stories. So I love stories. So I'm just gonna briefly say that. In his present company, he presented to Kiritsu Forum Turkey because he and his co-founder are from there. And in the room, there was former CEO of large Italian company, and that company became their partner, biggest partner. So CVC investments, when you are looking for CVCs, they could also become your partner. So just keep yourself open about everything. But this is a person who is super smart, really understand technology at the very granular level, and excited to have him back. Dr. Alex Golu of Levenside.
Hi all. Hi Casey. Thank you for that introduction. It's been a long time. I mean, since we first presented here, and I think as a company, we have come a long way. But on the context of CVCs, this is my third venture funded startup, and the first two were traditional VC funded companies with 2 or 3 entries on the cap table. This time we went the CVC and angel investor route. So we have some 40, 50 lines in our cap table as investors, but those are our partners, our customers, our vendors, and also retired executives and other members of corporations who have actually given us the introductions to the companies that are our customers now. So we found that working with a larger team of investors allowed us to grow a lot faster. Now, I'll give you a quick update first and then tell you what it is that we do. I want to make sure that you guys all are able to see my screen. Is that?
Yes.
Good. So what we do at Levenside is we shorten the distance between businesses and their customers with instant person-to-person video communications anywhere on the web, right? And we do this on our proprietary video communication platform that we have built from ground up. As I said, we have presented here before, so I thought I would give you a checkpoint of where we are. We have reached about $500,000 ARR with our given contracts, and that number is organically going up as our existing customers expand their use of our solutions. We have 2 types of solutions that I'll tell you about. One is a SaaS solution. You can come to our website and sign up. The other is a platform as a service solution, which you can leverage to add video to what you bring to the market. We have 2 patents, key patents that actually protect our solution and frame our differentiation. And we have since won multiple accolades and awards. The team has done this before. This is my second collaboration with Farokh and Rafael. Farokh and I did our first startup together, which we ultimately sold to a competitor. Rafael was my VP of marketing in my second company, which ultimately got acquired for $50 million back in 2020 by XLKK in a roll-up. And Murat, who heads our European operation, actually, I've known him longest because we went to the same high school. Now, when the pandemic hit, we all used these Zoom-like meetings to meet whatever interaction needs we had, right? And clearly, at that point, it was one size fits all, and we met whatever need we had with what was available. Now, last year, looking at these trends, Gartner Software Advice published a magic quadrant classifying all existing meeting platforms according to their customer satisfaction and usability. Now, we did place at the top right. We are proud of that. But the main point is that even then, there was already an emergence of video going vertical, right? Because the needs of a courtroom and a classroom are very different than the needs of your grandma's birthday. So you can see that there are companies emerging that are focused on webinars. I'm sure you all have been on some Hopin or AirMeet event. And at 11 site, we are focused on customer engagement. So shortening the distance between businesses and their customers. This could be any element of the customer engagement lifecycle, from sales to closing to customer success. Now, the way we are approaching our go-to-market is twofold. We ourselves are delivering a SaaS solution, primarily aimed at salespeople, and at VP of marketings and VP of sales in B2B, B2C companies, where they are dealing with high velocity sales, like buying a car, picking an HR solution for your company, and so forth. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute. We also sell our solution as a platform for other people who want to add native video to their solutions to increase their solution value. And I'll give you examples of customers who do that with us. But our main value in the SaaS is faster lead conversion in these high velocity deals, because today's modus operandi is the customers are well educated, they do their own homework. When they try to reach a business, they get confronted with AI chatbots, which we all hate. You fill out a form and it takes 5 to 10 days to connect with that business. In a high velocity sale, that delay, that friction kills the deal. And that's the narrow market where we are focused on with our SaaS solution. And our solution is very simple. We have reduced the digital communication of an identity of an individual, of a product, of a location to a URL. So you can call vcall.link 11 sales. Our sales department will ring. Anybody in India, Turkey, Europe, or US can answer. The nice thing about that link is that in that form, it can be embedded in any other website or platform. The other big shift that's happening, in addition to like trying to avoid the friction, is that the website of a company is no longer their single source of truth. People find out about us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Capterra, maybe in our blog post. Our solution gives our customers the ability to reach us with one click, no appointments, no downloads, right? We can ask them for an email address if we want to. What that allows us to do is to pick the most suitable available salesperson to route this call to, where it's actually one of our patents. We can ring them on any device. The solution is entirely device independent on both sides. And what we do is we give that sales rep call context, next steps, meeting gets, and through integration with their CRM, actually any information that's collected during that meeting gets put into the CRM and triggers the necessary workflows to move the deal forward and to close more deals. So essentially, we allow our customers to achieve in 15 minutes what would have otherwise taken 10 days and hours of work and would have probably cost them the deal. Now, our customers have told us that video-initiated interactions are 3 times more likely to result in a sale than any other internet lead, and customer satisfaction goes up. If we look at others who are doing this in the sales enablement conversational marketing space, everybody else is still tied to keyboard and text because they are like pre-pandemic solutions. We are the first one who are attacking this with the video first. We are starting with sales, but we can sell the solution I told you about into any revenue center. And sales, if we just make $140 from 20 million salespeople around the world in our niche, that's 2.8 billion. If we expand to other parts of customer lifecycle engagement, that's 10 billion. But our platform as a service really has a $40 billion market target. If I look at how our ARR currently breaks up between our SaaS and PaaS, you will see that our platform as a service actually is more lucrative. But we think that our SaaS will take off faster in the coming year, because that's sort of more product-led growth where our customers will do it themselves. To give you a couple examples, Astix uses us in their kiosk that they put in hotels for people to check themselves in. There is nobody to help you except a person at the end of an 11 site line that you can call who will help you. Bakkal is a marketplace. They are like Instacart for ethnic foods. They let their grocer drivers and consumers interact with video as well as with Bakkal. Movius provides audio applications for regulated industries such as insurance and banking. So our SaaS solution is targeted for a particular vertical. Our platform allows us to go into different verticals where a partner builds the solution elements and leverages us as a technology. So I'm going to summarize and then ask for some questions. So to date, we have raised 5 million, and our goal is to become a 100 million ARR company. As I said, we have done this before. So the first startup, we had defined success as seeing it through without screwing it up, and we made some money in the process. The second one, the goal was to make money for all shareholders, and we did that, both Farukh and I. This time, we are aiming at the upside. So that's why the goal of 100 million ARR. Right now, we are raising, we have about 700K left on a 3 million safe that we have created. That's going to give 20% discount against the next round of financing, which will probably, the next round will come early Q1 next year. So anybody who wants to write a 50K ticket and up is welcome to join us. And then the way I finish these presentations all the time is I want you guys to call me by typing vcall.link/11investor into your browser, because that's how you can actually reach me with one click. And with that, I'll open this for questions.
That's great. Great to see your updates, Alex. Now, by the way, one of the company we mentored, founder ran Bell Labs before, and companies Cupid, and they got acquired by Dialpad. Now, Dialpad is making some last moment acquisitions before they go public for $3 billion early next year. So I can send your deck to him, to Venki, who was, to if there is any synergy.
So why not? Because I mean, as I said, as our platform as a service, we can plug into any marketplace and become a vehicle for their members to conduct business with each other.
All right. And the good thing about Venki is he's very tech. He really is a ultimate techie, and with 60 patents. And he's so happy that Dialpad kept his products and integrated it. He made some money, but he doesn't care. He says, oh, after 6 months, Dialpad didn't kill my products. He's so happy about it. So you would love, I'll send your stuff to him. Any last question here?
Jim, did you have a question? I know earlier you were trying to raise your hand and didn't get through, but.
Yeah, Jim.
Right. Well, I just would say, I thought it was a great presentation for many, many, many reasons. Really, really interesting. Only thing I can think of is ultimate capital to break even, cash break even. That in this market, people are a little more concerned now about getting to positive cash flow. So just curious.
So that actually is a very, very good question. I mean, this is our, I did tell you this is our third venture funded startup. So if we had done this as a venture funded startup, we would have already burned 25 million or so to get here. We got here with 5. And we don't think we need any more than 10. Right?
10 million. Okay. Wow.
Another 10, that's it. We will be cash flow positive. We could turn cash flow positive even today if we want to, because as I said, we already have enterprise customers who, if they are fully deployed, will give us significantly more in revenues. So if we wanted to provide a cash flow positive lifestyle company, we could do that and we could relax. But the goal is to get to that 100 million ARR. So there is some early investment necessary especially in our product-led growth go-to-market, but we don't anticipate raising more than another 10, and that's it, even that.
That's terrific, because that's not that much capital. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know the space that well, and
I
all
mean,
that's-
I frankly don't understand what people spend 100 million on if it's just a SaaS solution. If it's a hardware solution, I understand. You need to build chips and this and that, and you may need to even build a factory. But I work from this chair. I don't even have travel expenses. We have investors, customers in Europe, in Asia, in US, around the globe. And our own solution is our vehicle to interact with our customers and investors and the team.
Fantastic. Alex, only thing is, when we say a lot of positive things, some little negative is good as well. I loved your previous focus on automotives, and a lot of automobile companies are writing big checks, like Volvo and all. They write checks even in pre-revenue companies. So
Right.
today I didn't hear that word. So maybe keep it.
Okay, so you did see all the logos,
Yeah.
but I didn't necessarily talk about, given the time limitations, but indeed, Fiat was our very first customer. Mercedes, Hyundai are customers in Europe. Ford Minority Dealer Association is our customer in US. They have 100 dealers that are members. We want to replicate what we have done with Ford is with Chrysler, because we can't sell one dealer at a time. But if we sell 100 dealers, maybe to AutoNation or to Ford and Chrysler, that's where we excel. So that focus is there in B2C. New construction is there, home retail is there. So we are also running campaigns to reach a B2B SaaS company audience. So our 3-4 focus areas in SaaS are indeed automotive, home retail, new construction, and B2B SaaS.
Great.
Our platform as a service, our partners can take us into any vertical, because I don't know how to scan a credit card and understand a driver's license. Bakkal does that, Astix does that. All I do is give them a link that they embed in their solution to interconnect their customers.
Great. This was tremendous learning. We'll be in touch. And I know GM Ventures, I will send your deck to them as well. Now, please stop sharing your screen. We have the last company. I'm really excited because this is what can I say? We always let 1 or 2 people we don't know, because they are, and the disruption comes from them, because people are making them file endless, paperwork. They are trying to judge whether they are good enough or not. We trust our instinct and our process. So this is the first time we are meeting this company. We don't know anything about this company. That's why we are even more excited. So company is called Cure, and person presenting is Karen Nussbaumer. Karen, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I am really honored. It's such an honor, and I'm excited to present. I'm really not sure how I got here, but I'm really glad that I am. I'm a educator first. I was accepted recently into the New Chip Accelerator Program Series A. So I'm still learning. I'm not only seeking investor partners, but also mentors. And I hope what I'm doing resonates with you in some way. And then I hope we can keep in touch as I go through the accelerator program. I teach people how to do ultrasound. This is my background. My roots include managing at Harvard Mass General Hospital, where I was the only non-physician 2 years in a row to be published for original research in the Harvard Research Journals. I also founded the first specialized ultrasound school in the country, and that was so early on. I had the URL ultrasound.com, which is now ultrasound.edu. I assisted NASA in putting an ultrasound machine on the space shuttle. I've helped doctors create artificial organs from pig cells. I invented and published award-winning methods that prevent aneurysms from rupturing and can help trauma patients with acute respiratory distress syndrome. I'm a published medical author, cancer researcher, inventor, and I founded the Cure Center, which is a for-profit, profitable, award-winning ultrasound school in Westchester County. And I'll share my screen now. What I've done, I always feel like I haven't done enough. I always feel like I need to do more in order to help people. And, you know, even though I won awards for my research and my educational methods, it's not like I intended to go out and win awards. I set out to help people. So this is the Cure Center. It is it was founded in 2007. It is state licensed by New York State. It is nationally accredited. It is Title IV funded. We've raised $4 million to date. We've had 15 million in revenues, 271% growth, and currently have about $300,000 in revenue per month. Our school has 250 active students enrolled, and we have a waiting list. We have a worldwide presence, and we are now, and we can't, this is what we do now. This is our campus. It's a campus ultrasound education. Now I'm evolving, and you see on my screen it says a dome. So we're evolving with a dome. A dome is stepping out from campus education, and it's going into virtual education that can be to physicians. So when you learn a little bit about what I'm doing, you'll see why I'm doing it. And I listened to what you said throughout this presentation, and I really am learning more. The why is why I'm here. So what I'm doing is opening schools nationwide with corresponding medical clinics, similar to urgent care, even Mayo or Cleveland Clinic trajectories, but more with opportunities for improved patient outcomes. You know, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been building methods for diagnosis and using education as the foundation. And it ends up that, you know, I did it at first because of my dad. You know, my dad had an abdominal aortic aneurysm, and it measured 4.9 centimeters, which, if you know anything about the medical world, they usually treat at 5. So there was a centimeter difference between him not being treated and him being treated. Ultimately, I was able to devise a method that didn't just show this arbitrary number of 5 centimeters where they're intervene, but it was able to create a ratio that could determine that the dilation was great enough for them to do something about it. So he was able to live 10 years longer, and he, you know, was able to convince the doctors to use my methods. But he unfortunately wasn't able to beat prostate cancer. And it's not because I didn't have a method to help him. It was that the medical community refused my method. And there's more to come on that. So as I open additional schools nationwide, the first 3 that are going to be starting in Connecticut, California, and Florida, I'm also developing devices that have ultrasound in them. So ultimately, the goal is to have same-day diagnosis and treatment. And same-day diagnosis and treatment, I imagine a world where we can walk into a center with cancer and walk out without it. And the way that I'm doing that is I'm putting ultrasound in people's homes. So I believe that we did a little of this during COVID. We got sick. We didn't want to go to the doctor. We couldn't go to the doctor, or we were scared to go to the doctor or the hospitals. And so we had our own diagnostics at home. So in a lot of ways, we've already done it. We've already proven it. And there's a lot of companies now that are working on home diagnostics, some of which that I've already connected with that are interested in partnering with me. The foundation of which is ultrasound. So when you have a pilot that has ultrasound education, which is tele-education combined with telemedicine, and you give the patients the tool. You give the patients the tool in order to do their own diagnosis in the comfort of their own home. That's the most rapid diagnosis that you can get. And it's a safe diagnosis. We're using ultrasound. We're not using radiation like CT or X-ray. So ultimately, by having ultrasound diagnosis at home, then patients will be able to have more choices over their own body. I kind of picture it like self-checkout at a grocery store. Originally, when people heard about self-checkout, they were a little bit upset about it. They didn't want to do it. They're like, why am I paying for self-checkout? But now it's just part of our lives. It's just part of what we do every day. We want to save time. We go to self-checkout. We don't want to wait in line. We go to self-checkout. And it saves money for the company, and it saves us all money in the long run. So I hope and I believe that home diagnostics will reduce healthcare costs in the long run. And the reason why I'm doing it is because I believe that this is the alternative to medical practice. Practice needs to become precision. And I've developed these more precise diagnostic methods, and I think is the alternative that a lot of us are seeking. And I hope that through having more choices that we can reduce suffering and help people be able to have control over their own bodies. I think it's really strange that we don't have control over our own bodies, especially men. Like right now, you don't have a choice but to get a digital rectal exam for prostate cancer screenings. There's no alternative. In order for you to get screened for prostate cancer, you have to have fingers inserted into your rectum. I don't get this. I don't understand this. And you don't have a choice to do an ultrasound. And an ultrasound that can see the prostate, measure the prostate, see if there's any tumors on the prostate, see all the surrounding anatomy of the prostate, and fingers can barely even reach the prostate gland. It's not working. So there's actually just this alone, I believe, is something that people should invest in, because more people will go to the doctor. Statistics show that 11% of men don't even go to the doctor because they don't want this exam. So scenario one, right now, this is what happens. As a man, as like my dad, this is what happens when you go to the doctor. You get the medical history, you get a digital rectal exam, which is invasive. They do a blood test, a prostate-specific antigen, it's invasive. They do a rectal biopsy, it's invasive and it's extremely painful. They'll do a PET scan, which you probably didn't know was up to 60,000 x-rays in 60 seconds, which is very hazardous. Then they'll do a prostatectomy, which is pretty typical, which is also invasive, and it causes impotence and incontinence and lots of problems. And the problem is it's not working. Just last year, there was 35,000 deaths, and it costs about $300,000. These are expensive. It's about $10 billion a year that's attributing to our rising healthcare costs. So with the Dome centers, the prostate cancer detection, there's no medical history. You can do the ultrasound at home. It's a transabdominal ultrasound, which is completely non-invasive. You have to have a full bladder, and the probe goes right on top of your pelvic bone. You're fully clothed, and it can see the entire thing. And then I have same-day diagnosis and treatment at the centers with devices that I've made that stop blood flow to tumors without harming the organ, and that can even prevent angiogenesis without pharmaceuticals, so the tumors can't form. So what I believe that this center will do is give people an alternative to the current practices that aren't working. And what I'm looking for is you know, the ability for us all, not just men, but women too, for ovarian cancer and breast cancer, to have a choice of a place to go, a choice of something to do besides having hands. So my mission, my tagline is I want to put ultrasound in people's hands, including doctors, so the doctor can stop using their hands. You know, it's really, it's a ridiculous thing that doctors are using their hands for diagnosis when we have ultrasound technology, but right now we don't have a place to go. You cannot go to a doctor and say, I want an ultrasound without having this. It makes no sense to me. So what I really hope is to expand my on-campus education. I'm asking for $2 million per campus. We're using our profits from our current school now to expand, but we're not expanding at the rate that we want. So we want to continue the expansion rapidly. I'm asking 125 million for each medical center that goes with each campus. I'm building medical centers with multiple MRIs, multiple ultrasound. This is not a low-cost venture, but the turnaround is around 57 million in profit per center, which you can't get anywhere. I feel like I'm the best odds not only to help I want to help myself. Like I unfortunately have been a victim of the medical community and now have to worry about my own cancer treatments. So I really want to be able to build these centers so that I can build these treatments so that I can be there for my son, who's 14 years old, who he himself has never had a testicular exam at a doctor, and he's never had an x-ray. And I did that on purpose because I want him to have a chance to not get cancer and to actually have treatments and procedures that work. So I want to expedite these schools and centers, which is why I'm here. I just started the accelerated program. I realize I have a lot of work to do as far as my presentations go, but what I'm hoping is that my mission, what I've already done, what I'll continue to do resonates with you in some way. I do think that you'll hear about me in the next few months as I launch this big PR campaign with a great company called Hook Point. It'll be a lot of social media. It'll be a lot of PR. And I did write a book called The Back Door that is going to hopefully be something that people will resonate with, that gives them options in the healthcare community when you can't have care that you expect. And when we see medical error rising and we see, unfortunately, prescriptions being a leading cause of death, and we see doctors making diagnosis or making treatments without diagnosis. So there's a lot of parts to what I'm doing, but it all is now housed under the ADOME umbrella. So thank you for listening. I'm not just here now, but always for questions or comments. And I appreciate if you resonate with anything that I'm saying, that you connect with me soon. Thank you.
Great. Karen, we have run out of time, but we wanted to hear you out because this is so powerful.
Thank you.
And we will stay in touch, and there are 2 or 3 business models mixed into this. So you may have to separate it out.
Okay.
And what is, do you maybe dominate the virtual world first and then get into high capex, real estate oriented, who knows? I think it's most important is the brand and your personal story. And more you monetize that first, the easier the rest becomes. So much respect, that's why we always let 1 or 2 people. We trust the universe to bring the right people to us. On that note, we have run out of time. We will introduce you. Everyone will get a chance to speak to a mentor. We have already put you with Jerry Baranano because he's become entrepreneur in residence at Vanderbilt Medical also. And he may be able to dial you in some of Vanderbilt's initiatives. Who knows? Don't hold me to it. But, we will be in touch. Thank you. This was an amazing shared experience. Everyone brought, the synergy of the whole was much better than the sum of the parts. So I thank everybody. And our conference, last but not the least, we are having this amazing conference called CVC Government and Impact, which brings together on the last evening and next day of TechCrunch, and we will send the info to all of you, where we will really boost you. And today, my last comment is the people you met, they are all connected to one another. So it's just not looking at a judge who's gonna be gone. These people are your entry to this network of CVCs and those who want to meet CVCs, which means all investors. So you just got to put yourself as a part of this network, and the right connections will flow to you over a lifetime. So thank you. Thanks for everybody. Thanks for Sharon for co-hosting us. Axel, Jim, whoever is still there, Alex, thank you for all. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Bye-bye.
Right?
Thank you.